Imagine this: it's late at night in New York, early morning in Berlin, and midday in Beijing. Across the world, military satellites suddenly detect unusual activity. Encrypted channels buzz to life. A single message spreads through command centers like wildfire. A global war has begun. Within seconds, the sky lights up. Long-range missiles streak across continents. Air defense radars scream. Decades of uneasy peace disappear in a matter of minutes, but one question rises above everything else: which countries are struck first and why? To understand this, we must look at how major powers actually plan for war. Militaries never fire blindly. Every important target, every runway, bunker, and naval port has been studied for years. The opening minutes of a world war aren't about symbolism. They're about survival. The goal is simple: disable the enemy before they can retaliate. This logic is old. In past world wars, the first attacks hit airfields, rail networks, and command posts, not random cities. The idea was brutal but effective: cripple the enemy's ability to organize. But today's world is very different. Modern conflict starts far faster. Hypersonic missiles, cyber weapons, AI-driven targeting systems. All of these strike within minutes. That means the first wave today would concentrate on military capitals, nuclear launch centers, satellite communications, air bases, naval fleets. These locations are the beating heart of a country's defense. Every nuclear nation already maintains priority target lists. These lists determine where they would strike first if war becomes unavoidable. For example, major capitals, missile bases, radar stations, strategic ports. The details are classified, but patterns from past documents show where world powers would likely hit, and that brings us to the two most dangerous regions, Europe and Asia. Europe is the closest contact point between nuclear alliances. For this reason, Europe becomes the first battlefield. Within minutes, the initial targets would be Eastern Europe, countries closest to the front line: Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. All of them host NATO troops, radar systems, and air defense networks. Cities like Warsaw, Riga, Tallinn, and Vilnius would experience early strikes on airports, fuel storage, military communication hubs. Even if they weren't hit with nuclear weapons, their military infrastructure would be destroyed quickly. Germany is a critical NATO logistics center. It hosts U.S. aircraft, missile defense systems, important supply routes. That makes areas like Ramstein, Buchel, and other military hubs immediate targets. London isn't just a global city, it controls the UK's nuclear submarines, the naval bases tied to these submarines would be among the first locations attacked. Turkey's bases connect Europe and the Middle East. Its airfields and command sites would be struck to limit NATO movement. Europe is densely populated. Military bases sit close to neighborhoods, airports, and cities. Even without direct attacks on civilians, the destruction would spill over everywhere. Within hours, roads would jam with evacuees. Power grids would collapse. Millions would seek shelter. This is the European theater of the first 24 hours, chaotic and devastating. If Europe is the chessboard, Asia is the spark. Taiwan is the most likely flashpoint. Its airfields, ports, and command buildings would be hit almost immediately. Its survival would depend entirely on outside support. Japan hosts major American military bases. These bases would be prime targets for missile strikes aimed at slowing U.S. involvement. Guam is small but extremely strategic. If cut off, America would struggle to operate in the Western Pacific. Therefore, Guam would face early attacks. Seoul is only minutes away from hostile missile ranges. In the opening hours of a world war, South Korea would be forced into full-scale defense. Naval bases, aircraft carriers, and island outposts would all come under fire. The region would explode almost instantly. Though far away, Australia hosts key U.S. facilities. These bases would be targeted to weaken Allied communication. Just a few destroyed islands, airfields, or ports could tilt the entire balance of power. In Asia, when Americans wake up, they would hear of attacks in Europe and Asia. While the United States might not be struck during the first minutes, the sense of fear would spread instantly. Governments would close major airports, activate emergency broadcast systems, deploy military forces, put nuclear forces on maximum alert. Panic would ripple across cities as people rushed to gather supplies as the first day continues. Each new strike increases the risk of nuclear escalation. No major power would wait forever if one side's missile bases begin disappearing. The other will assume the worst. This is the nightmare scenario. Use your weapons before you lose them, and so even limited strikes on military targets can trigger a chain reaction beyond the superpowers. Smaller nuclear countries also change the equation. India, Pakistan, North Korea, Israel. Any conflict in their regions could spiral, pulling them into the global fight. A war that begins between two great powers can quickly become a worldwide catastrophe. By the next morning, the planet would be unrecognizable. Europe, millions fleeing cities, transportation shut down, power failures across regions. Asia, skies glowing from fires, cities under constant threat. Allied bases heavily damaged. North America, governments preparing for possible retaliation. Financial markets in freefall. Communication networks overloaded. The first 24 hours wouldn't bring victory or defeat for any nation. They would bring total global instability. In previous wars, some countries stayed neutral, but in a modern global conflict, neutrality offers almost no protection. Even nations far from the battlefield would suffer. Supply chains collapsing, oil and food shortages, stock markets crashing, communications failing. The world is simply too connected. A strike on one region sends shockwaves everywhere. People often ask who gets hit first, but the darker truth is this. In World War III, the first to be hit are only the beginning. Eventually, the impact reaches everyone. The first targets may be Poland, Taiwan, Guam, Japan, or missile bases in remote areas. But as hours turn into days, the war spreads far beyond its opening locations. In a global war, no country remains untouched. If you found this eye-opening, make sure to subscribe and let me know what topic you want next. See you in the next one.